So, episode 6. This one's just a lot of information, so it's going to be a little bit on the shorter side. I'm going to move quickly, but this is just the modifier and all of the different values that could be substituted into the modifier to find that product. So the modifier represents all of this stuff being multiplied together. So targets indicates how many opponents you're hitting. So if you're hitting multiple opponents with like rock slide, earthquake, then the number of targets is multiple and you multiply by 0.75. Otherwise, you wouldn't plug anything in. You would plug in 1, for example. BP, if the Pokemon has the ability Parental Bond, which is just in Sword and Shield, it is still coded Mega Evolutions, but you would plug in 0.25 for the second hit. Weather, there's a couple different conditions. If it's raining and you're using a water type move, then you would plug in 1.5. If it's raining and you're using a fire type move, you plug in 0.5. If it's sun with a water type move, you plug in 0.5. Or if it's sun with a fire type move, you plug in 1.5. If it's a critical hit, it's 1.5. Other games, at the earlier games, for example, it was 2. But now it's down to 1.5. And then there's always a random chance a move will do between 85% and 100% of its full potential. So that's just completely random. And we might talk about that later in the channel, about what that range can do and how to think about that range a little bit more. Stab is huge in the Pokemon games. It's the same type attack bonus. So if the attacker is using a move that matches its type or one of its types, for dual type Pokemon, it gets a 50% boost. We plug in 1.5. If the defending Pokemon's type is resistant to the move that's being used, we plug in 0.5, so you're not very effective moves, like using what's a good example? A normal type move on a rock type that's resistant, so you multiply it by 0.5. If it's a weakness move, so you're hitting for weakness, fire into grass, for example, you multiply by 2. If you are burned, then and using a physical attack, then it is a 0.5. You do 50% of your total damage, so you plug in 0.5. There are a lot of different, very specific conditions that need to be met for other, even more specific than rain with water type or fire type moves. So let's jump into that. So here's those specifics. So all of the different things that could be considered other. These are very, very specific. If you are using screens, you do 0.5. Reflect is the screen for physical attacks. Light screen takes care of special attacks. Aurora Veil is all attacks are reduced by 50%. If you have a sniper ability for landing a critical hit, you get an additional 1.5 on top of your critical hit boost. Tinted Lens we plug in 2 when you're using a move that is resisted. Behemoth Blade, Behemoth Bash, and Dynamax Cannon all plug in 2 if your defending Pokemon is Dynamax. Friend Guard is 0.75. You only take 75% of damage if your ally Pokemon has this ability in a double battle. Again, super specific, but a very, 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 very helpful ability in the competitive scene. Protect does 0.25 because you cannot fully protect from a Dynamax attack or a Z move. Again, coded in, but not used in Sword and Shield. Multi-scale and Shadow Shield, if you have full health as the defending Pokemon, gets 50% of damage. Fluffy has a couple different things. If the attacking Pokemon is using a contact move, which does include some special attacks, you multiply by 0.5. If your attacking Pokemon uses a fire type move, though, it's times 2. Oh, excuse me. Punk Rock. If the attacking Pokemon uses a sound-based move and has the ability Punk Rock, it gets a 30% boost. Or if it's a defending against, so the defending Pokemon has the ability Punk Rock, it takes 50% damage from sound-based attacks. Ice Scales takes 50% of damage from special attacks. Expert Belt, if your attacking Pokemon is holding an Expert Belt, it gets a 20% boost for super effective attacks. Life Orb gets a 30% boost to all attacks if you are holding a Life Orb at the cost of some health. Type Resist Berries, if you are hit by a specific type of super effective attack, you take 50% of the damage instead of the full 200% or 400% if it's a 4 times weakness. Minimize, I did not know this one before making this slideshow, but if the defending Pokemon has used Minimize and is hit with like a slamming attack, so like Body Slam or one of those moves where there's like literally a belly flop and your defending Pokemon used Minimize and smaller Crush, it does 2 times damage, which I thought was very, very unique. Unfortunately, Minimize isn't all that competitively viable, so you don't see that interaction happen all that much. This one's cool. If you use Earthquake or Magnitude or Surf and Whirlpool into certain attacks, so like if the Pokemon has used Dig and they are currently underground, and you use Earthquake or Magnitude and they are underground, well, Earthquake with somebody underground, that would cause a lot of damage, so it does 2 times damage, and same with Surf and Whirlpool. You don't want to be underwater in a tidal wave or in a whirlpool, so those do 2 times damage. And that's it. But that is all of the very specific stuff for the modifier. So, again, that's all the information I got for you. We're going to get back to the math side of things in the next episode, but I hope this gave you a bit more information about the modifier and the Pokemon damage formula.